President, in a communication to the Senate and the House of Representatives dated 30th August 2018, conveyed his latest decision. According to Senator Inang, the President again declined assent because of some drafting issues that remained unaddressed following the prior revisions to the bill. President Buhari consequently invited senators and House of Representatives members to address the issues as quickly as possible so that he may grant presidential assent to the electoral amendment bill.
The President has stated the reasons in the communication and is requesting the National Assembly to readdress those provisions which were earlier, which attention of the legislature were earlier drawn, and they went to work on it. But there has been some questions of cross-referencing mistakes and questions that will abridge the time in a manner that will breach other provisions of the Electoral Act, such as Section 31, 34, and 85 of the existing Electoral Act. Because what the National Assembly has stated, giving INEC the time within which it takes to take certain actions, has the effect of giving INEC or leaving INEC with only 9 days within which it is to collate the matters relating to candidates for election for the 91 political parties. The implication of this is that you remember that they were using the normal back channel to reach to the National Assembly on the areas where the executive and the other institutions had reservations. And the National Assembly on the 24th of July, before it proceeded on vacation, addressed some of the issues. So only those issues are now outstanding. But in addressing some of those issues, it didn't get to there. I think there are some issues that still stands unaddressed, which, if not addressed, will have negative implications. So we still believe that the National Assembly, if it reconvenes, as we are optimistic they may reconvene, they will look at these issues very, very expeditiously, and Mr. President may then give another consideration to the bill. All is not lost. It is only that the National Assembly is on vacation now, and we've drawn their attention to the issues, and we believe that since we have indications that they're anxious to work on the supplementary budget for INEC funding, they will also look at this. So I will not go far to speak as if this bill will not come into force to regulate the 2018 elections, the 2019 elections.
This is the second time the President is withholding assent, largely due to reordering election timetable by the legislature.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, we're still on to Galaxy Today on Galaxy Television. We've been discussing the cost of nomination forms, but now we'll be switching gears and we will be talking about the proposed electoral amendment bill, and we still have our guests in the studio with us to discuss this. So can I just throw this to you, Mr. Borishade? We've seen this frosty relationship between the executive and the legislature for some time now, and now this has happened. Do you feel perhaps there's a sinister move by the lawmakers and the president himself?
No, I don't think so. People have been talking of lack of synergy between the legislature and the executive, but this may not be so. I think it was Aristotle who says that a healthy society must be in permanent state of conflict. This is good for the country, right? What is happening? The fact that the president refused to assent and gave credible reason is sufficient. And like people are talking, before I answer your question, because the main issue here is Section 87.14. But people have been talking when the legislature did not approve the budget. People are saying, oh, they want money. That is not the case. They are not just there to rubber stamp everything that the executive does. They have to scrutinize it and see whether there is a way to amend this. Later we discovered that the budget was padded. You see? And now if they have not scrutinized it, wouldn't have known that. That's not because they were looking for money. They have a duty. We just don't put them there to rubber stamp everything. The same thing with the president. Now, there is a problem with Section 8714 of the amendment. The problem is that the time for the primary, which should not be earlier than 120 days and not later than 90 days, have an unintended consequence for the INEC, because it will give them 9 days only to collate the primary, to manage, to collate the primaries of the political party, which we have about 91 political parties. So it's very difficult. And when the president saw this, he looked into it and said that this will be difficult for the INEC to manage. That is why he sent it to the legislator to look into it again.
Well, if I have to butt in, Barrister Aborishade, looking at, are you saying the president is actually not assenting to the bill just because it feels INEC might not be able to manage, a particular aspect of the stuff, that particular bill? Is this law meant to help INEC do its job well, or is it just specifically so we can have credible elections in Nigeria? Or is it just saying that INEC might not be efficient enough to handle some of its issues?
There are two reasons they gave. One is the management and the collation by INEC also, which is a reasonable ground. I agree with them. The second one is that they said the amendment failed to amend Section 30, 34, and 87 of the Electoral Act itself, 2010, which means, of course, when a new law is made, which is inconsistent with the old one, the new law automatically repeal the old one to the level of its inconsistency. So if the bill is passed, automatically it will repeal the old one. That's Section 30, 34, and 87. However, the major problem, which I agree with the president, is the time management. If they cannot use that 9 days, it is better, prevention is better than cure at this stage. Otherwise, there will be postponement of election. We will see people going to court that they cannot, the primary, they cannot conduct, they don't have sufficient resources, the INEC will say they have to postpone it. So what the president did right now, I think is in the best interest of the country.
Although, okay, let me get to you now, Oluwaseyi Olokere. A lot of people are saying that these regions may not be cogent enough because this is not the first time. The first reason they gave was the sequence of election timetable, which the National Assembly had to toss aside. Right now, the senior special assistant to the president to National Assembly Matters, Ita Enang, mentioned some issues of cross-referencing and all of that in some of the sections. How come most of these issues were not actually, said or in the first time when the same bill was passed to the presidency?
Okay, I think that still speaks a bit to what your colleague had asked earlier, which is saying, is there any sinister motive and all that? See, I think that every system, every society must have a certain level of disequilibrium, or a certain level of an acceptable amount of heat, because that's what enables us to learn, that's what enables us to grow. And I think that our structure, our democracy is structured so that there's checks and balances between the executive and the legislature. Having said that, the Electoral Act, because I have taken time, I'm not a lawyer, but I took some time to look at the Electoral Act 2010 amended and the new one, which has about 45 clauses amended, affected. And what I have seen in general is that it has sort of taken into consideration those things that the Electoral Act 2010 did not envisage. Take, for example, what happened in Kogi State, where an aspirant died, and then there was all of that confusion. So there is that, and then there are a whole lot of other thoughts, like what my colleague here has said, which is about the timing and the project management and all that. Having said that, what the presidency is holding on to now is that there are cross-referencing issues with 31, 34, and I think Section 85 actually. And everybody seems to be silent about the sequence of election this time around, like that is not an issue. So there is no doubt that there is some politics about this, but I think that if people should just, let's exhaust it. The National Assembly, if truly there are cross-referencing issues, they should fix it. Let's be more, I saw a part, the Electoral Act 2010 provided for campaigns to start not earlier than 90 days before the election, but now it's expanded it to 120 in the new bill. The Electoral Act 2010 limited the spending of the presidency to, I think, 1 billion. Now it is raised it to a certain amount. And governorship to 200 million, now is raised it to 1 billion. Now, so some of these things are also, because the whole idea is to have an improved space. I mean, a better regulated space for the INEC, because the Electoral Act is meant to actually regulate the whole electoral process for all of us. So I want to look at it from that objective standpoint, and I think that both parts, both arms of government should quickly, like the SSA to the president has said, do their job. The National Assembly should pass it. But a curious thing, though, I don't know if, I mean, I can be educated here, isn't it possible for the presidency to say, okay, hey, there are 45 amendments here. I'm fine with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let that, you know, be sorted. Because the way it is like you rightly said, if that is not said clearly, it means that tomorrow they can come again and say, oh, there's one section 40 something that has not been done. That's right. Let the public know that, okay, look, out of those 45 amendments, we're fine with 40. But these 4 or 5 are the issues, so that we can hold them accountable, because there's so much noise around it. And unless you take your time to dissect these issues and study it, it's only then you get to actually see the real signal, the real information. And then, you know, they're confusing it with politics. The National Assembly is on recess, budget, and electoral sequence, and all of those issues. So my thought is that the issues that need to be dealt with should be dealt with quickly, and then it should be dealt with more transparently. Let's have the details, and then people need to, of course, interrogate the situation more like we're doing here, so that we begin to know what has been sorted and what is still pending. I do recall that at some point it said that the National Assembly had returned the date sequence to how it was before and sent back, but in what I saw, that hasn't necessarily changed. So the question is that settled, or is it going to come up again? And then, you know, so we know the issues that have been settled, and then the issues that are pending.
Settled.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'm looking at the situation whereby this might even be reworked, and they might come up with other issues again. And at the end of it all, you find out that, you know, we have limited time. The elections are just about 5 months away, February 16 next year.
That's right.
So how do you think all this can be, you know, managed to ensure that we do not run out of time, considering that the election is not far away?
Okay, I want to believe that the people we have in authority, both at the presidency and in the National Assembly, are good people with good intention for the collective well-being of our country, our dear country, Nigeria, and therefore they must do the needful to allow a smooth democratic process. Because you're right, otherwise, if these things are not fixed, we might have an issue. So there isn't time anymore. Like you said earlier, there's just about 5 months left, and then very soon the project calendar will begin to tick off. Already the window has been open for nominations and all that. Very soon that will close, and then the window will be open for campaign. The issue now will be, when should campaign start? Is it going to be according to the Electoral Act 2010 or the one that we anticipate that is going to be amended? We also talked about spendings, and then also limits for fees. I reckon that the reason APC is able to put 45 million naira is because the new amendment is not enforced, because if that was enforced, that already sets a cap. So everybody will fall in line. So what I think is that whatever needs to be done in terms of the amendment, with better clarity to the public and more accountability to the public, should be done quickly, and so that we can save time and be able to move ahead.
Okay, Barrister Niyi Aborishida, we're going to take your last word concerning this issue vis-a-vis the presidency coming out to say that the president is not against the e-voting and all of other issues that have been speculated by some school of thought. What are your thoughts, really?
Take the question again, please.
Basically, one of the issues that have arisen from all of this is that of the card readers and the e-voting system, which the presidency has said that it is not against, you know, using for the 2019 elections. But vis-a-vis all of these issues, that what should we be doing as we get to 2019?
I think, like my colleague said here, transparency from the government. People are afraid of what the government is doing. They are not so sure. You know, there's a sinister move because of politics that is going on. There's lack of trust. There are many promises that have been broken. So there's a breach of trust and confidence between the populace and the government. So anytime there is a move from the government, it's fraught with speculation. People will speculate, oh, this is just for this reason and not for the business of this country. Because this has been going on for many years. So people don't have trust in the government. So the government has to come out with transparency. They have to show the people that they are honest, that they have the best interests of this country in their heart. But when you look at the utterances of the president, you know it's very, for instance, the president was speaking to Angela Merkel last time about some illegal Nigeria crossing to Germany. The president said that they were on their own. This kind of statement will not give the members of public confidence on the president, because the interests of the citizens of the country should be paramount in the heart of the president himself. And he has a mandate to protect that interest.
Okay.
American life matters and Nigerian life matters. Those are the reasons why we have problems.
All right. Okay, that's as much as we can take. We are completely out of time, but we must give our appreciation here. A very big thank you to Barrister Ni Aborishade, President Nigerian Movement for Positive Change. Many thanks for being a part of the show.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, and of course, Oluwaseyi Olowokere, governorship aspirant under the platform of the AD in Ogun State.
Oluwaseyi Olufade Olowokere.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All right, we also want to thank those who joined us from our different stations from Ibadan. We had Olalekan Ayorinde, and also we had from Abuja, Sam Oke Mbono, the Executive Director of Nigerian American Leadership Council. He joined us today, and they've made this show a wonderful one, Justin.
Yes, that's as much as we can take. To all of you who have sent in messages, I'm sorry we couldn't take any of your messages today. A very big thank you to you. My name is Justin Kadenyo. We'll see you again tomorrow, same time, 10 a.m. Bye for now.
And I'm Joseph Oko. Keep it there with us tomorrow. Bye.